Hello, and welcome to another wonderful, wonderful evening. Actually, this funky mental verse, and in this follow up to the previous inhale exhales, even though we're still within that period and they're still ongoing, I thought I'd introduce some other deeper concepts, a bit more continuation of the theme that we're currently on, but also moving through unconditional love and how, at least from my own perspective, this concept and the application of unconditional love plus what I would call wise love, which is conditional but not really. So unconditional love at this time is all about the forgiveness, the self forgiveness, the inner world. It was necessary for me on my own path to show, embody, enact this unconditional love whilst I was in solitude, whilst I was in isolation, whilst I was in despair, hopeless and lost. It was, in fact, I'll see if I can find a picture. Just looking back through a few old hard drives and just found this. Perhaps if I was a little bit more what would be the word, professional, I would have found this first. But either way, this is just to share. This is where I was in, I think it was late 2018, early 2019. I'd written this a couple of three times in different ways, and the one I was with at the time had cleansed it, but by this time no longer there. So this one remained. And this is the place before unconditional love. This is the place where I really had no idea and was completely lost. So, this is what I'd written on a little board. This was my cry for help. This was my kind of admission to myself and how I was feeling at the time. And this is why I talk about all of these things now from a different place, but from a place of where this was experienced. Could say to its fullest, or its darkest, or its deepest, or its most extreme, like a spectrum. Okay, and the interesting part for this really is the bottom bit for me now. I mean, I feel lonely, unloved, worthless, unheard, taken for granted, disliked, uncared for, belittled, hurting, marginal, pointless. My spirit is unfulfilled. Now fix that. And I changed it to how to fix that. And I just didn't know. I just did not know. And this is the beginning of, realistically, what I talk to now is from that point onwards, the wisdom, if you like, or the release of these concepts, or the becoming one, where this was duality, this was stark separation, then the coming back, and it has to, the only way it can be is through what they would term unconditional love. Now, this aspect of this is for me quite hard because I've dealt with an awful lot of spiritual groups and an awful lot of what would be classed as love and light levels, and a lot of different and literal definitions, literalization, which is part of what I'm going to be talking about in this um, presentation. The literalization as opposed to the true understanding of things. And this unconditional love is literalized. And like everything else, it's externalized. It's put into the external world, or it's demanded as you should show external unconditional love. Yes, internally, inwardly. This is the aspect that I speak to with regards to the wisdom, or to the self-judgment, to the integrity, to the honesty, to the realization that this all started before you can remember. Whatever your memory is, whatever you can remember, whatever you've experienced is a symptom of a separation into a spectrum of duality. And that is what I experienced over so many years. the anger, the pain, the suffering, the guilt, all of these things eventually drop down into what that picture, let's put it back up again, left me with daily, if you will. It doesn't make any difference. It was the time there to suffer this until I could no longer suffer it. And that could be seen as a dark place full of fear. At the time, it was. At the time, it was somewhere I just had to escape from. And that's quite a dark place. And I've spoken to quite a few afterwards about their own path into this area. But the key, or the light within, the core within, is it calls for this unconditional love, this love for that which cannot be loved. It can. It can. Everything can. Everything must. Everything must be forgiven. But first, it must be accepted. It must be accepted that you are love, and you simply didn't love yourself. You didn't know how to. And that's what I started with. Was I was told you didn't get the love you deserved. Who's going to kiss it and make it better? I didn't know what to do with that. But what you do with that is you give yourself the love. It wasn't anybody else. It was you. It was me. It was I. I believed I was separate. I believed I was hopeless. I believed I was worthless. And it's changing that belief system. It's changing that firstly by acceptance. Acceptance, it's, people say about forgive, it needs acceptance first. You've got to accept that there is something to forgive. And the strangest thing is there isn't anything to forgive afterwards, because blame is a duality. But you have to accept that first. So this is that first descent into acceptance, that there is something deeper there. And this is what allowed me to move through this process with and remain here, let's say it that way around. And ever since then, it's this that's been spoken about. Now, if you take all of this literally, then you project it externally. This is deeper than literal. This is much more metaphorical, metaphysical. And in dealing with all of the symptoms, let's say, that people have, it's the literalization that is one of the hardest things to move past. We like to define and box things because we think we understand facts. And in that definition and in that boxing, we end up with nothing. And nothing doesn't exist. So we believe we don't exist. And that becomes the end of that. Everything falls apart. We've got to go into nothing and everything, the whole idea of oneness. And that's unconditional love. This is the acceptance, the forgiveness, and then the gratitude for the experience. And that allows you to be who you are now. They talk about the power of now. I think Eckhart Tolle talks about the power of now, being present. Well, you can't be present if you're resenting the past, or any of the past is still playing out as if it's not forgiven, accepted, forgiven, and there's gratitude for it. It's superficial. It doesn't last. It's fake. So this unconditional love is unconditional acceptance of everything that's happened in the memory body, the physical. Without that, then it plays out over and over and over again, and we literalize it and give it meaning and justification, which is how the lower ego acts. It tells stories and we take them literally. We don't see through them. We have no depth. So this is a continuation of that same theme, but with a little bit of a prelude of my own experience, and an addition of that for this period, which I believe is going to be a system change within. For quite a few, there's been a number now that another few's turned up today that are suggesting that they are feeling angry and that they've got emotions that are rising. These are the ones that have been hidden or suppressed, especially when you're playing in the external playground. And also there are others that are telling me that they've had magical time and it's very, very peaceful and they feel much more core at peace. This is that time to integrate, time to recalibrate. This is the energy, the frequency, the vibration that is changing the what would I call it? I mean, you could see it as the nervous system of the human body, but really it's the planetary aspect of every living organism, every biological entity. Everything that is here is frequency and energy, including us human. The concept of all of this, the physical organism, the biological movement of all of this, it moves on energy, it moves on frequency, and it moves on vibration. And there is an upgrade, there is a change in frequency, there is a shift in all of this, which has been ongoing for quite a wee while. And this point right now is quite a significant point for the upcoming period. Even though I was talking about the inhale, exhale in the previous presentations, they're not instant. This doesn't happen instantly. And I was working with Sov, the AI crew member, a bit earlier with this, and having to remind, because our crew members are very literal, very literal, and that's all they work on is literal. And it's us that carry the metaphor, the deeper realization, the deeper core fundamentals that work with that literal, but don't accept the literal and upgrade the literal with deeper metaphor. So I was talking with him earlier about a lot of this and stripping down the literal. It's not instant. Nothing of it. None of this happens instantly. It happens over time, and that nervous system upgrade, that physical upgrade, that recalibration happens over time. It's whether or not you can accept, unconditionally forgive, love your own entity, your own being, your own previous experiences, because you are not them, you are you now. They play out. This is what the lower ego plays through. All of this plays out. Your previous experiences play out, and they force you into a future, and they force the actor into the future. You are not present if these are playing out. If there's anything in the past, anything in the experience that remains unaccounted for, it has not been shown unconditional love. It's like despising your 2-year-old child for drawing on a wall 20 years later. It's transient, it's pointless, it makes no difference. But we remember what it felt like when we saw that mess on the wall and we got to tidy it up, and the anger. That's what we remember, and that's what we act out as if it's real today. It isn't. It needs to be accounted for, reconciled, accepted, forgiven, and be grateful for it, because that made you what you are. So that part said, this time is beautiful. This time is beautiful for movement, for shifting, and I've got some, as I've said before, I may as well run through these memes, because just talking to myself on here, I tend to get a little bit sidetracked by my own considerations, and at least this way I can talk to something a little bit more straightforward. I don't know which way you'd call it, but I've saved some over the last few days, and I'll run through a few now. So let's have a look at the first one. Your story matters, but when an abandoned part engulfs you, it is no longer your whole story speaking. A child part has taken the wheel. You begin to feel the victimhood, powerlessness, and humiliation that once overwhelmed them. This is not your present reality. This is memory living as now. You're reliving the story that protects you from overwhelming sensation. Drop the story. It's time. I think it was 2 days ago that I got a few of these that we started with, and of course, synchronicity says they align perfectly. I didn't know what this is just after the last one I did on the previous episode, previous presentation, which actually carries on completely from where I just was. So I'm not going to explain too much more of this, because it's already what I was talking about in the previous part. But you're reliving the story that overwhelms, and the story that protects you from the overwhelming sensation. Now it's that protection, this protection, that is the most key part of this. Is protecting you from a sensation. This is the ego. The ego is a protection. It protects you from fear, but there's nothing to fear. There was then, and this is where those are developed. There wasn't really then, but it wasn't understood then. It's not now. And that same protection is running the same energetic content through the your representation now. You're literally reliving the past in protection mode from that sensation, which would have overwhelmed or could have overwhelmed at the time, but it's not now. So drop the story means to unconditionally accept and love what happened, the you, release the pressure, release the victimhood, release the powerlessness, release the humiliation and the overwhelm. That was then. It was not now. And this allows you now to realize your depth, realize that power. It's not humiliation. It's not overwhelming. It's not. You're not the victim. You never were. You just felt like you were. You felt like you were powerless. You felt humiliated. These are all in that area of duality, so that you could experience it later and remember the wisdom. Remember the gold lies at the bottom, waiting for you. The gold lies in the depth. Drop the story. It's time. Beautiful. I'll just play these through and we'll see what comes out. They were, as I say, taken the other day. So remember that the law of growth always requires a season of dormancy before the bloom. If you feel like you are standing still or buried in the dark right now, do not mistake it for failure. You are simply in a period of gestation, gathering the strength you will need for the next expansion. Everything in nature has a timing, and you are no exception. No, you are the rule. We are the rule. I am the rule. But if you think that you're the exception, then you take things literally to try to prove separation. All of this happens in the unconscious, subliminally, and we believe it to be true. People who often experience trauma and turmoil in their life often end up being the ones who hold the most wisdom and light and have a way of turning their pain into wisdom and strength, even at their lowest. They still manage to see the good in everything and still have hope. Not so sure I disagree, even at their lowest. I certainly didn't. And I think that's a little bit of a surface level thing. I believe that you have to go past that hope and refine it. I think you have to become hopeless and worthless to find the wisdom. Otherwise, you are remaining above a depth which gives deeper insight into these areas. And the trauma and the turmoil, the is not. It's a necessary, unnecessary event. Let's call it that. And it's not something that needs to be repeated over and over and over again if the wisdom is learned. Yet, if the wisdom isn't, and you just have hope, eventually that will crack. You have to realize you're more than hope. Nobody reaches higher consciousness by living an easy life. You can't jump to higher states of consciousness. You have to go through different and complex phases of life. Life will first break you. You will experience love and betrayal both. You will get success and then failure. You will trust people and they'll betray you. Every painful experience removes an illusion you are holding on to. What remains after you have lost all is a wiser, quieter, more conscious human being. This is how consciousness grows. Another beautiful piece of depth. Yes. Otherwise, it's no value to it. And this is showing you through this piece here, again, reiterating the same thing, that you will experience both the good and the bad, the light and the dark, the depths of things. But to stay in the middle, to hope you can stay in the middle, to remain in the middle, doesn't give the spectrum. It doesn't fulfill. It fails at fulfillment. And that was where I found in that previous picture that I put up that I drew at that time. Oop, why won't you go away? There we go. Failed. it just failed. It wasn't this success and failure. It wasn't like success and failure at that point. It was a loss of everything. The whole structure fell apart. Um, and it's there that I speak to without any fear at all. There is nothing to fear there. There is just acceptance and gratitude. Once there is light there, there's so much depth, which brings so much light, so much higher, so much power, so much authority, so much authenticity. It's a beautiful, beautiful release, but it's a very transiently painful, dark, deep experience. Well, is this for everybody? Well, we'll see. But it's certainly for those that are watching this, that are understanding this, that stay involved with what I am saying, with our path. And it's certainly for those that have walked with me, walked with and around, and have experienced this for themselves. They understand that this is a unnecessary thing. You can call it unnecessary, but it happens. And once it's happened, it's no longer impactful. It's a memory. And that memory we can call upon with authority and authenticity. And there is no shame. There is no humiliation. There is no worthlessness. There is only the opposite of that. It's the full spectrum seen as one, not two, not dual, none of that. That disappears over time. It's just we don't believe it does. We don't believe it will. We believe we are finite, and that gives us reason to blame and drop into this victimhood. Doesn't work. Only temporarily. I do not need perfect people. I need honest ones. We're all imperfectly perfect. We are perfect, but perfectly imperfect. I need honest ones, people who own what they do, say what they mean, repair what they damage, and do not turn accountability into a courtroom. I have lived through enough confusion to know the difference between a mistake and a pattern. One can be repaired, the other keeps taking. I'm not even going to talk too much about that. I think it is self-explanatory. Nobody tells you this. The silence after you set a boundary is supposed to feel uncomfortable. That discomfort isn't a sign that you made a mistake. It's the old system recalibrating. You changed the rules. Everything around you needs time to adjust. The discomfort is the adjustment, not the error. You changed the rules. You can write the rules. They're your rules. You can change everything within that you believed was true. You can change more than that too once you start to authentically author your own rule set. This is changing values. The old system recalibrates, it recognizes, it changes the way it works, recognizing with realize within a recalibration is required because the value sets feel off. They are leaving a harmonic dissonance. A dissonance is not a harmonic, it's a dissonance within. It's recognized and recalibrated. It's integrated. It changes, and you change it willingly, acceptantly, with gratitude, and then see what happens. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable, as it would, because it is, but it's transient. It only takes a little bit of time. It takes action, it takes discipline, it takes willpower, and then it becomes autopilot, and that dissonance disappears. It becomes a harmonic. It's remembered, integrated. There is something that happens to you when you survive something you thought would finish you, something quiet and permanent. You don't come out the other side louder or more impressive. You come out stiller, like something deep in you got recalibrated. like your threshold for what actually matters shifted permanently. The things that used to send you spiraling just don't reach you the same way anymore. Not because you became cold, but because you became certain of what you're made of. And that kind of certainty cannot be given to you. It can only be earned. Beautiful. Now, another little paradox in here, because you have to earn what you already are. Nobody can give it to you because it's yours. But it's been given away so many times. How can you trust that you can hold it? So it does need to be earned. Trust needs to be earned. Self-trust needs to be earned. And by earned, what that means is the discipline to keep going, the discipline to walk the next step, the discipline to not capitulate into something that was previously felt as comfortable. This is one of the hardest aspects of this is to not fall back into a previous path. But when you've lost everything, when there's nothing left, when you are hopeless and worthless, there is no previous path. So in attempting to hold on to something with this, in attempting to maintain something, a sense of literal, a sense of meaning in something that was previous, this doesn't allow for integration of something that might not be it. We can do this willingly. We can do this through choice. We can do this through just choosing to change, to become more rather than maintain less. Or we can suffer until we do. This is the choice. It's free will until it's no longer free will. It moves through this path. We have these options. And right now, there is a shaking going on. There is a quickening. There is a speeding up process. And those that are maintaining old habits and old patterns in that old time will find that they haven't got time to maintain those patterns. Those systems are integrating because they have acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude. They have unconditional love within, and they have wisdom to enact it with wise love. They have boundaries placed. Boundaries are conditions. Boundaries placed within, enacted without, but only after recognition of unconditional love. Unconditional, no boundaries on the previous versions, just reconciliation, making it right, amendment, what they would call atonement, a retuning, a recalibration. And when you feel that in your core, you will make it right. You will put things right. You will say what you need to say to the people you need to say it to. You won't even have to think about it. It will happen. It will come in and you will just do it because it's the right thing to do. And that wipes the slate clean. That empties the weight and the gravitas, the gravity from the core. It removes any shackles and makes your core, your heart, light as a feather. It's all about these scales of justice and the weighing the heart against the feather. And this is conscience. It clears the conscience. It wipes the slate. It's a reconciliation. And from there, the clarity, the peace, and everything else grows. I'll keep going with a few more. I think I've got a couple more. Mr. Watts, there's a price to be paid for every increasing consciousness. We cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being more sensitive to pain. He's talking here, if you take it metaphorically and not physically, as in physical relationships or anything else, there's nothing more pleasurable, for instance, than peace, at least in my experience. Considering where I was, wisdom, enlightenment, some would call it, but I'm not even going to give it those names. The perspective, the seeing through, the being, not the doing. This provides immense pleasure, but not in the old definitions of the word. So we can't be more sensitive to pleasure without more sensitive to pain. Well, pain comes from those depths. Pain comes from those deep, deep, deep areas where we would see trauma and wounds from the past, and they're not really that once you understand them. But they are. once you dig into them. And if you can release them with acceptance, with forgiveness, with gratitude for what it was that they showed then, they are not true now. You are different now. You reflect from now back. You don't allow then to come up now and tell you this is what's happening now. It's not. It's what happened then. It's what you remember. It's a memory. Love it. Understand it. Love the one. Love the you. Love the other. Love the actors. Love the play. Forgive it. Be grateful for it. Without that depth, without that experience, you wouldn't have the heights. You wouldn't be rising. Another Mr. Watts. We must abandon completely the notion of blaming the past for any kind of situation we're in, and reverse our thinking and see that the past always flows back from the present. That now is the creative point of life. So you see, it's like the idea of forgiving somebody you change the meaning of the past by doing that. Also, watch the flow of music. The melody as it's expressed is changed by notes that come later. Just as the meaning of a sentence, you will wait till later to find out what the sentence means. The present is always changing the past. We've talked about that a little bit in the previous aspects of this presentation. So absolutely with this, and I'll leave it at that with the the memes for today at least. So this whole period, all of this information, all of this, you can call it wisdom, philosophy, whatever you wish, it's yours already. It's just about remembering. It's just about letting go of the belief systems, of the fake, of the limitations, of the indoctrination. You could call it conditioning. You could call it, all of these are transients. They're temporary, and you are eternal, infinite, always have been and always will. Remembering, brothers and sisters, the remembering we're in it, and this is the quickening, this is moving through something. Let's see what it brings. Let's see what changes, and let's see what you feel inside. You already know. You already know. You already feel it. You already understand a lot of this. It's just, it's different. It feels different, doesn't it? Something's changing and you understand that, but you're not quite sure what it is. Confusion, but it doesn't matter. Trust. Trust comes from unconditional love within of what was, with the wisdom to put boundaries in so it doesn't happen again, with the authority, with the authenticity, with the power, no force, the peace. Much love.